Good evening, everyone. Let me start out by thanking everybody who exercised their right and responsibility to vote last week. Citizens of the United States shape their government and its policies by casting ballots. The participation of constituents is more important than ever in the heated and polarized politics of today. Littleton's bond election saw nearly 2,000 voters cast ballots, but we'd like to see more people get involved. The final tally of yes votes was 1,203, or 61.8%, which is a pretty significant margin when we're asking people to dig deeper into their pockets. We owe a special thanks to member Curtis Nielsen, who once again acted as treasurer for the Political Action Committee, or PAC. Thank you. We also want to thank Joe Hernandez, some of you may know, for serving as the PAC president, Diego Espinoza for hosting meetings and events to support the cause at Fuego and Tolleson. We appreciate the support of our mayors, councilmen, legislators, and other key civic leaders. The support of our community was key to helping us address student enrollment growth and ensuring the health and safety of our students. Voters rejected 4 bond measures in the southern part of the state this November. Despite those losses and rhetoric from the state capitol, this victory shows that voters continue to have a high level of trust in their neighborhood school districts and governing boards. We're excited to start plans to buy land for a new K-8 campus and to purchase buses to transport most students. I want to add something about the Energy Award we were given by SRP. It featured a couple of our people, our account representative and our own Mr. Fisher from our operations department. Those two are primarily responsible for that recognition. Mr. Fisher's longstanding involvement in the school operations business has afforded him the opportunity to assemble numerous relationships with people in other companies who partner with Littleton because of those connections. Last October, we had 3 big highlights for our schools. They're the parent conferences, red ribbon activities, and the fall break that comes between those two. Our families showed great interest in their children's educations, and teachers across the district held almost 5,000 parent-teacher conferences in a short 3-day period. Roughly 85% participation in fall conferences is pretty typical for us. We also work to update our email information families so we can reach out with the Littleton link, which right now goes to nearly 3,000 email addresses. We're also proud of the activities of our schools to support National Awareness Month for Anti-Bullying and Red Ribbon Week. At Collier, teachers conducted lessons in the classroom that focused on providing ideas to students on how to address bullying, with emphasis on the impact of the victim and the role of the bystander. They celebrated Spirit Week with Red Ribbon Week. An art and writing contest for anti-bullying was held at Country Place, as well as challenges to do acts of kindness. Estrella Vista students reflected and celebrated those who choose to do the right thing every day. Fine Arts set up a small groups of 4 to 5 students to have lunch with a teacher on a regular basis, and then teachers conducted anti-bullying lessons each week when they met with their lunch clubs. Students and staff at Littleton created Red Chain Ribbon, where every student randomly chose someone to write something kind about, and then presented the chain at the Kids of Hope assembly. Quinton students hosted a Mix It Up Day, in which students sat next to someone they didn't know very well at lunch and made new friends. Staff provided conversation starters, and they played a little background music to help the kids along. Dignity Kids visited the classroom, sharing students the importance of saying no to drugs for Red Ribbon Week. And they hosted a Spirit Week. Students signed their name on the Red Ribbon campaign banner. At Trace Rios, they had an anti-bullying and drug-free bulletin board contest. Students created strips of kindness that were hung across the hallways. Middle school students partnered with younger grade levels to read anti-drug and anti-bullying materials. Wheels of Freestyle came out and delivered an exciting performance of BMX stunts while delivering messages of anti-bullying and staying drug-free to wrap up their week. The beginning in November also always means 2 more things here in Littleton: Race Weekend and Veterans Day. We're compiling all of the Patriot activities at our school that happened last week, and I'll be able to report on them at our next meeting. I do want to be sure to recognize all the members of the Littleton community who have served our country and extend our thanks for their service. Earlier this month, Dr. Garland and I met with the new Superintendent Youth Council members. Council was started this year as comprised of 7th and 8th graders from each school, and the purpose is to hear from our kids about what's working well in our schools and some areas where we may need to grow as leaders. The students were very vocal and happily praised their campus and their teachers and various programs. Along the same lines, I'd like to share an excerpt from an email that was recently sent to a Collier teacher by a former student. And that teacher is Mr. Cedor. It's Talia Dorsey. She says she's currently in her junior year at University of Arizona. You can't blame everybody for not going to Arizona State. But she's double majoring in political science and history, interning at Senator Flake's Tucson office, and preparing to take the LSAT so she can apply to go to Harvard Law. She says, I always remember you pushing me to challenge myself and always reminding me I can do anything I set my mind to. Thank you so much for your inspiration, courage, and tough love. Lastly, I'd like to congratulate our 8 students from the Fine Arts Academy for being selected to participate in the Arizona ACDA State Honor Choir. The students were selected for their talents, musicianship, and leadership, and I guess it's tough to get selected. They'll represent Littleton Elementary School District well in the Cantamaros Honor Choir concert held at Central High School in Central Phoenix. And I think that's either this Saturday or last Saturday. But I'd like to thank Mr. Travis White for his dedication in preparing those students. Before I go on to recap sports, I want to add a final word about the kind of community we're making, or more to the point, not making here in Littleton. A UCLA study released just last month found that more than 90% of teachers agreed that national, state, and local leaders should encourage and model more civic exchange and greater understanding across lines of difference. And Dan Dominici, the executive director of the nation's Superintendent Association, said he believes there's been a spike this year in racially charged incidents in schools. Here in Littleton, we had a community member justify using an obscenity on a phone call with one of our administrative assistants, saying that if the president can do it on TV, then he can do it on the phone with us. So, I want to make it perfectly clear that we will not be conducting the business of the district in obscenities, and derogatory remarks about other groups of people will not be tolerated. Volleyball and football season is going great. The athletes are learning a lot, getting ready for playoffs that are coming up. And in closing, I'd like to express our appreciation to the many donations received last month, including Andrea Dunlap for instructional table, games, and toys, Michelle Martinez for library books, and Lori Ray of Schneider's of Hanover for donations of bags of pretzels. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Drake.